Hello and welcome to Cake Coach Online. I am absolutely delighted to have a guest expert with me today, somebody who's going to be joining us as one of our experts in the Cake Circle, which is now open for registration. I'll give you the link in a bit, but I'm going to talk to Hollie Ellis from Hollie Ellis Design, and her expertise is in branding and graphics. She's going to tell us how important it is if we're going to start a cake business, run our cake business, how important it is. So, welcome and good afternoon, Hollie. It's good afternoon now in London.
I know I always automatically say good morning. And then I realise it's
it is good morning in West Coast America.
Yeah,
Right?
it is. So good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. So hello, thank you for having me. So my business is Hollie Ellis Design. I'm a strategic brand designer for 6 and 7 figure female entrepreneurs, and I help everybody with rebrands, but also the brand strategy behind their businesses as well. So I'm really excited to be a guest expert for the Cake Circle. So thank you for asking me, Karen, and thank you for having me here too. And branding is just really important. I think so many people at the very beginning of their business journey assume that their logo is their branding, and it's a big, I don't want to say mistake, but it's a big lesson to learn if you don't realize that from the beginning. Because later down in your business journey, further along, like years into it, you'll realize that maybe something doesn't feel quite aligned, or something doesn't feel quite right, or you feel as though, the look and feel of your logo, your colors, your fonts, everything like that doesn't quite match where you want to be going. And it's just based on a lack of clarity and understanding in terms of branding and what your brand is all about. So it's really important to kind of invest in your branding and learn about branding from the very beginning, because it can help you have a really successful business if you use the time and spend the time on it at the start.
Yes, because it's very difficult once you've actually started a business and gone along with maybe something that you've put together yourself and looks a bit whatever, and then people start recognizing you with your bit of a weird thing going on, and then you change it. It's much more difficult to change further on into your journey, isn't it? Because you've got to change literally everything and how people recognize you, etc.
Yeah, it's really important to kind of think about where you want to be with your business in the future. So a lot of people kind of sometimes discount that kind of thoughts about the future and where they want to be. And it's looking further down the line and thinking, where do I want to be in a year's time? Where do I want to be in 3 years' time? So, for example, if you want to have like a really high-end cake business that charges a lot of money for exquisite cakes, then obviously your branding, including your visual branding, your colors, fonts, your logo, it all needs to match. Otherwise, there's going to be a misalignment. And what you'll find is, depending on how you've branded your business, depends on the types of clients and customers that you're going to be attracting. So if you keep attracting nightmare clients, it's because your branding is probably off. And that lack of clarity is off as well. And nobody wants nightmare customers. They want perfect customers that value what they do. So it's really important to get it right from the beginning.
To look professional, totally
Agree.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yes. So I bet you've got some stories of some people that have totally done it the wrong way round when you've discovered, then they come to you for help. Have you got some?
Yeah, all the time. A lot of the time I get a lot of business owners who say that they've been playing around in Canva, and I'm absolutely fine with that, but Canva's only going to get you so far. And I also think a lot of business owners, and I totally get it from a startup business phase that you're in, that you've got to really look at where your money is going and where you're investing your money as well to grow your business. But a lot of business owners do use Canva and then come to me saying, I really love this font I've been using in Canva. And I think, yeah, but how many other people have been using that typical font that hundreds, probably millions of people are accessing and using? And if you want to stand out and be different to all the other cake businesses out there, then your branding needs to be different as well.
Yeah.
And then I get a lot of people Googling color palettes and sending them to me without really putting much thought into the
Oh, okay.
colors.
Yeah.
Yes, I've had that one before as well.
Yeah.
Or I've had some people go on logo makers online and say, "Oh, I've had I did this logo on this logo making website," and I just think, yeah, again, but how many other people have been on there?
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't want to look the same as everybody else. You want to be different, but for
Different.
all the
Yeah.
right reasons.
Yeah.
So yeah, there has
I
been a lot of that.
I've got a favorite little rant apart from photographing in boxes, which is my favorite, one of my favorite
Right.
little rants. The other little favorite rant is, I went right through to my best subjects at school was art, right?
Oh yeah.
When I did my Sitting Girls cake decorating, that was the first time that I actually got taught about the colour wheel. Unbelievable. It's like, how did I do all those years at senior school and never get taught about the colour wheel? So now I'm like a heat-seeking missile of like when I look at things on Pinterest or wherever of like the colours.
Mm.
The lady had posted a very funny cake, and she said, "I don't know why this looks weird," and it's like, I can see why it looks weird. It was a chocolate cake, completely chocolate cake. It had no ribbons on it, and she completely got a really weird board that looked a bit like floorboards in blue,
Oh wow.
yellow, and green, right?
Right.
And she stuck the cake on there, and then what I call the leading edge, where you can put a ribbon around the board, it was red and green, and it's like,
Oh wow.
colours. It's like,
Yeah.
they're not even harmonising. They're not even opposite. It's like no understanding of colour at all. And that's my worry. Is people, yes, you can make things together in Canva and great for Instagram little posts and posts in Facebook, whichever. But if you haven't got the first clue about the colour wheel, which is my other rant about, apart from cakes in boxes and being photographed, it's like if you don't know, because some people don't have that just that knowledge of it without even knowing it, without having learnt it, haven't got quite the eye, and actually having an expert that says, no, actually these would be good for that brand essence, which is what you're trying to create. Is really important, I think, because trying to do it yourself.
Yeah, it's all about emotions and feelings. So every color evokes an emotion or a feeling, but also different shades of color too. So like a navy blue will evoke a different feeling and emotion to like a really bright turquoisey sky blue.
Yeah.
So even shades of color will evoke a different feeling and a different emotion.
Yes.
So again, like even when it comes to branding your business, you've really got to take that into consideration. But even decorating cakes as well. So if you're decorating like a really nice wedding cake and the brief has been that it's fun and quirky, then obviously you're going to use really colourful colours in the icing and everything in the decoration. Whereas if it's like a really kind of high-end, calming, relaxing wedding that you're catering for, making a cake for, as an example, then obviously the colours have got to be really soft and really muted. So there is a big difference, and it's so versatile in kind of cake decorating, but also branding your business as well. And it's kind of distinguishing who is your business for, what is your niche, what's important to you, and then pulling all of that through to the colours that you use. So again, there's loads that goes into it. It's not just surface level and making something look pretty. There's a lot of thought that goes into anything to do with that.
Yeah. Oh, I think we've got internet, whatever. What was I going to say? Talking about brand, yes. A lot of cake decorators. One of the things that I teach is, what are they specialising in? Because there's so many different facets. I know that you're a cake baker and decorator, but as a hobby, you don't do it. You enjoy it, so you know what I'm talking about. But there's so many different facets. Do they like making cupcakes, or do they like, are they looking for wedding cake? So therefore they're looking for, brides, and all of that, wherever they're going to specialize in and wherever their skill set is, that determines where they're looking for their potential customers as well as
Yes.
the branding, because a lot of them just sort of become a cake decorator and then decide that they're all things to all people. So then people come along and say, can you make me a novelty cake? Oh yes, I can do that. Or can you make me a cake that's covered with buttercream flowers that's really, really pretty? Oh yes, I can do that. Oh, and then I can make a 3-tier wedding cake as well. And it's like, actually, when you look at the real professionals, the ones that have written the books, the ones that are really well known, that if you said their name, you go, oh, yes, you'd go to the sugar craft shows and they have books on a stand. They're specializing in a thing. They're either like really good at modeling, or they're really good at wedding, like beautiful, beautiful wedding cakes, or there is something that they specialize in, and that is basically their brand.
And that's what's
Isn't
going to
it?
help you stand out. Oh yeah, that's what's going to help you stand out, because it's all about niching, isn't it? So,
Yeah.
One of the questions I always ask business owners is, take another, as an example for this, take another cake business owner and stand next to them and think, well, how am I different to that person? Because they offer cakes the same as me. So how am I going to stand out, and how am I going to be different? And it's a case of like finding your signature style. So it might not even be just doing cupcakes, or just doing sugarcraft, or just doing like piping or wedding cakes or anything like that, but it's also the types of cakes that you're making as well. So it could be gluten-free cakes, it could be free-from cakes, it could be vegan cakes. So even things like that as well is something to take into consideration. And you've always got to ask yourself, well, what do I want to be known for? And if somebody was having a conversation and one person said to the other, oh, do you know anybody locally who makes amazing vegan cakes? Then you want to be that person who they're going to recommend. So it's a case of kind of stepping into that niche and that speciality and that signature and owning it and going for it as well. And your branding's going to help you do that, mixed with your marketing too.
Yeah. I think what happens is lots of the beginner cake decorators who are starting out, it's like, oh, I don't want to niche down because I'll miss out on orders. And then they decide that, they end up becoming all things to all people and never an expert in anything at all. So they couldn't stand next door to their next door neighbour that's 6 doors down that's also a cake decorator and say, I'm different because I offer X, because they haven't actually identified what X should actually be, or what they're even good at. And one of the exercises that I get my Cash for Cakes girls to do is to go through what they're actually really, really enjoy doing. And they get really surprised. They go, oh, actually, I hadn't really considered that I don't like XYZ, whichever XYZ is, and why would I take a cake order on that is asking me to do XYZ? It would just be a nightmare. Some people don't like to make novelty cakes. They don't like to do cutting and carving. That was what I loved to do, because I loved the somebody didn't come along with a picture and say, make it like this. It was, I had to use a bit of imagination in order to work out how to do it, because there wasn't a template to do it, and that's how I worked. So that was my speciality at the time, and I think people really have to hone in on what they like what they like to do, and what their actual talented at the moment best at. Obviously there's things going to come along, there's new things all the time coming out, a new technique, and so suddenly they might say, oh, I'll try that, and suddenly that would be the new favorite thing to be doing for the moment, but certainly just getting your branding right and making you different from every other person that comes along is really, really important. And
definitely, because then obviously you become the go-to person for that speciality, and then you can charge more for it as well, because that's where your skills and your expertise lie. So then you can decide where you want to be positioned within your marketplace. So that's all down to branding too, is your positioning within your marketplace. and thinking, well, I want to specialize in this type of cake and I want to specialize in doing this too, and I will become the go-to expert in it. So then, yes, of course, you can raise your prices, but again, your visual branding and all of that needs to match it, because otherwise you're going to, again, attract the wrong people. So it's all about creating alignment, but also getting really clear on what those elements are of your brand, and then stepping into owning it, but also being confident with it as well.
Yeah, fabulous. So true. So anybody listening to this or listening to the replay, that it's so true. And just to start out with nothing and then just trying to put stuff together yourself, and people don't really take you so seriously. And yes, you'll attract the low end people, because then what happens is people just assume you're like a hobby baker, and therefore that's I've got another rant. The rant is the people that think that the cake decorators are there to be bartered with. So now that starts, I think, from the point that they think, oh, they're just I'll give them a little bit for their time. It's like they're a hobby. They're not really doing it as a serious anything. So therefore, they don't really deserve to be paid very much. So, you don't go into a hairdresser and start going, oh, well, I do want cut and colour and highlights and whatever. Oh, yeah, £170. Yeah, I think I'll pay 130 today. I mean, you wouldn't go in and negotiate, because they're a professional business and they've got a price list. That's another thing. A lot of the hobby bakers or the home bakers that are just turning into a business, no price list, nicely branded, that look professional, that is available if it's not printed out, right? Because that's, maybe you don't want the expense of having leaflets, but at least having something on your website that is professionally branded, again, to your theme, makes you, you can point anybody, right? You want me to make a cake, here's my web link, and suddenly they go, oh, this is all very professional. I really can't ask her if she just bake me a cake for £15 or $10 or whatever it is. It's all about being professional, isn't it?
Yeah, it's about managing expectations as well, and it's giving that experience. So again, if somebody's coming across your social media platforms or your website, or even offline, if you have like a bricks and mortar shop or anything like that, it's as soon as somebody comes across your business, they're experiencing your business and your brand within seconds. So first of all, you've got to think, what first impression do I want to be making to somebody who's coming across me for the first time? Is it that I want to appear professional, high-end, specialize in these kind of cakes? And then how do you then continue with that experience and be transparent and manage customers' expectations of what they're going to receive from you? So it's all about giving the best experience possible, but also making it easy for people to experience your brand, buy from you, and rave about you to all their friends and family as well.
Yeah, totally. So what would you recommend people that are watching in or watching the replay about having a band of experts that are all sitting there waiting and ready to help them with their questions to be answered? I mean, I've not only got yourself, I've got so many different people queuing up. I spoke to a cafe owner / bakery owner this morning who can't wait to come in and share her knowledge. I've got somebody that said, oh, I'll talk about how to get 5 more orders for your wedding cake business. I've got so many people waiting to help, to impart their knowledge. It's great that you can be involved too.
I think it's amazing. Like if I had access to something like this at the very start of my business 6 years ago, then I would have absolutely tapped into it and invested, because if you think about it, you don't know what you don't know. and being able to get access to loads of different experts in order to grow your business the right way, I think it's a no-brainer for me.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. And of course, I'm really enjoying chatting to all the experts.
Yes.
Okay, oh, I've got a question for you.
Yeah.
I've got to get onto the food hygiene people at the local council this afternoon, because I'm trying to get to interview them as well.
Oh, yeah.
The cake circle, because that is really important as well, getting your food hygiene and
Yeah.
your allergens and the labeling and the packaging. If you're going
Yeah.
to take your stuff, or if you're going to make little cookies or cupcakes and take them off to a farmer's market, what is it do you need to have that label on it? But again, branding.
Yeah.
Branding
Oh, yeah.
on something, it's all very well putting a cake on a drum board and putting it in a white box, which is what most people do. But if you're taking things off to a farmer's market or a farm shop, again, you need your branding totally there.
Yeah.
So
even takeaway offerings as well. Like I ordered from a local company. I think it was a few months ago. I ordered like an afternoon tea, kind of like takeaway box, and it was amazing. And when I received it, there was nothing in it there to tell me what was in there and what was in the ingredients. And I thought, oh, but I really need to know what's in there. Yeah. So again, it's the brand experience as well, isn't it? And those expectations again, is you've really got to think about the journey that your customers are going on with you and mapping that out, and then looking at, right, what do I need at each of those stages to complete that customer journey? And it's so important, especially with allergens nowadays as well. You've got to be really careful.
New legislation. I was talking to the allergen lady who's going to be included in the guest expert list, and she was saying that everything's going to be much stricter from October, and there's so many treat boxes out there. People putting, UK's in lockdown, and there's other places in the world that have had COVID issues, etc. But whilst that's all been going on, everybody's been making home teas, etc., but putting them in a box. So some of them, I see pictures because I'm obviously in a lot of baking and cake decorating groups, and it's like, and the presentation of them just could be so much nicer. I know another young lady who is doing so well with her treat boxes because her presentation is absolutely spot on. She's got a queue of customers waiting that she's just put her boxes up by £5, and none of the customers have even flinched, because she said, I've got to stem the flow, I haven't got time to do it. It's like, what a brilliant story, because she's got her branding right, and she's doing it, and everybody just loves the way she packages up her stuff and the way it is presented, and that's all about presentation, color and design, etc. And there's some people I see in the Facebook groups sort of go, I've made all these cookies and I haven't got any buyers. And it's like, well, that's weird that you made them unless you were taking them to a farmer's market. And some people saying, I think I'll charge £15 UK for this. I know people that are charging £40 for a treat box, and you've got people in the queue, and it's like, let's examine what the difference is. It's about presentation and customer journey, and actually having creating an experience for the customer when they actually get the box through the door, so it doesn't, and knowing what the allergens are, and actually as well
labeling
that labeling, yes, that would help. That makes it all look an awful lot more professional.
Exactly.
Because if you're sending stuff out that is food, for goodness sake, if you're sending it out and it hasn't got what the main allergens in it, this contains or has been prepared in a kitchen that anyway. That's probably could be another rant. So I've probably got about 5 rants.
We'll be here for the whole day.
Anyway, hang on a minute. Let's just put this one up instead. So anybody that's watching live or watching the replay, that is the link. We went live today with the sales page, so we're open for registration now. We're open just until Friday at midnight, which is the 5th, for registration, and then we shut because then I want to help the members and get the guest experts in, etc., etc. So yes, and Holly's going to be our first expert that I'm going to talk to. Or I think on this occasion, I think you've got a little presentation you're showing, aren't you? I don't think we're talking. I think you're showing exactly, expanding on our conversation today.
Definitely. Yeah.
That's the plan. So go and sign up. So it's very exciting. Okay, thanks ever so much, Holly. It's been brilliant to chat to you.
Problem.
And I'll speak to you on Monday, the 8th, isn't it? Yes.
Yeah.
Fabulous. Okay. Take care. Lots of love. Okay. Bye.